Hello and welcome. Today we have a couple of interesting stories, including one about an entitled boyfriend who gaslit his girlfriend for years even though he knew he was still in love with someone, and then karma happens. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. First story. So I, female 24, met my boyfriend, male 25, in college, where we pretty much immediately hit it off. We took the same course, and in the first week, he approached me while I was with some friends to compliment my hair. I had gone pink for breast cancer awareness. We maintained a strong friendship for about a year before we eventually started dating, and we shared a lot of interests. I really liked a very specific subgenre of modern takes on classic literature, 10 Things I Hate About You, Clueless, etc., with one of my comfort movies being Romeo and Juliet. I know it's dumb, but it's silly and I love it. Anyway, so about 6 months into dating, we're lying in bed after a nice night, and he's running his fingers through my hair and says, "I love you so much, Juliet." I don't know, we watched the film together 2 nights ago and maybe I was dumb, but I really just interpreted it as a pet name, so I said, "I love you too, Romeo." It picked up since then. Looking back, I should have known something was up by the way he apologized immediately, but for the next 3 years, I called him Romeo thinking we had a pair of cute nicknames. It was a sweet little thing, and I even noticed my actual name had fizzled out of use with Juliet, Babe and Baby taking its place, which I didn't mind at all. Well, 2 days ago my boyfriend and I went to his brother's wedding, and I got to meet his ex while he split off to talk to his brother, being as she was a family friend since his childhood. I introduced myself as it was the first time, and she did the same and told me her name was Juliet. I immediately put it together but didn't want to stir a scene at a wedding, so I played it off. Don't get me wrong, she was such a sweetie, and we didn't even talk about him once, even though she knew we were dating, which I actually really appreciated. I confronted him about it later that night when we'd gotten home, and he immediately admitted to getting my name mixed up with hers. Our names could not be more different, might I add, on that night, and didn't know what to do when I misunderstood him, and just went along with it. We've kissed and he's called me Juliet, made love and he's called me Juliet, gone out and he's called me Juliet. He's called Juliet in front of my parents, but I'm just now finding out he's been calling me by his ex's name? I feel sick, and I'm seriously considering breaking up, considering I've felt nothing but embarrassment since the other night. I just needed to get it off my chest. He says it doesn't matter since it is our nickname now, but the origin of it still sticks in my mind and I don't know what to do about it. Update. Hi all. Sorry I just picked up my phone after a big day yesterday, and I'm here to give an update and answer as many comments and questions as I can. I really didn't expect it to gain this much traction. So yesterday was really rough. I would make the post just before dinner, and soon after we had a long talk about it and promised we'd both tell the full truth. He said he was upset and hurt that I'd let something so minute affects a 3-year-long pet name, and I understood where he was coming from, but it really doesn't feel minute to me, which I made clear to him. I asked him why he didn't just immediately admit to it, or why he continued to call me Juliet/T, and he said that he didn't want to be the bad guy, but the second and third times was him just testing to see how I'd react, which really stung to hear. I asked him how he'd feel if the roles were reversed, and he said he'd feel pretty messy. I then asked him if he still had feelings for his ex-girlfriend, to which he admitted he did, but only in the same way that everyone does. Also, for those of you asking, I believe they dated for just under a year? I didn't want him to shell up, so I remained calm and asked him who he thought of when he said Juliet/T. He was quiet for a moment, but when he spoke up he said, and I quote, "I guess I was thinking about you both, but mostly you." That was it. I broke down crying while he was apologizing and trying to take it back, but I think I was too far gone to even think about it. Last night he slept on the couch, and this morning I woke up very early to pack the essentials and left to stay with my parents until I can fully calm down. I wish I could say I was angry, but I'm honestly just sad. I always promised myself that I'd never let a relationship get to me, and that I'd recognize the red flags from having to watch friends go through relationship troubles. But I guess here I am. He sent me a message at around 8 asking where I was, and sent me one about an hour later apologizing again. I don't know, I'm really trying to be mature about this whole thing, but between the sobbing voice messages he's sending, something I really never expected to hear from someone who really presented himself as stoic, and what he's done, I'm truly just fighting the urge to block him and throw my phone out a window. But yes, that's where we are now. I'll do my best to respond to all your comments in the best way I can, but I find reading through them to be quite relieving, with many people giving me advice and support. I appreciate you all. Edit. Also, I thought I should mention for all of you who were confused, I used college as my sister said that's what most of the world calls university. I started uni when I was just turning 20, as I'd taken a gap year to earn some money to rent out my own place. We met in my first year and had definitely not known each other for the 6 to 7 years people are estimating. Oh, and I meant to say Nomeo instead of Romeo, but my phone kept autocorrecting. That's been edited in the original post though. The second story. My narcissistic brother cheats on his current girlfriend who has cancer with his ex, and my mom is aware of it all. I just want to vent my frustration. Yesterday, or today in the early morning, I received a string of texts from my brother's current girlfriend, Kate. In these texts, there were a lot of screenshots that not only talked poorly of me but also spelled out how my brother was cheating on Kate with his ex, Kathy, who sent the images to Kate. Kate has cancer and left her town to come to live with him. She knows nobody here, and my brother sure as hell makes sure to remind her of that, all the while badmouthing me. She has a son, who is 12 years old, which my brother also seems to dismiss, insult, and hit on a regular basis, things which I did not know. My brother has a son, who's been with social services ever since the mom of the kid escaped from his grasp, and whom he's never seen unsupervised for more than a few hours every 3 months. He whines about this kid, and collects items such as toys that he keeps in a bedroom he forbids anyone from ever touching because he wants to show his son what he missed out on when he'll turn 18. He owes $700 to Kate for his current car. Has not even yet helped her to fix her own car, which he said he would do. He also owes me $700 for having broken my Wacom tablet when my stepdad died, and he holds some of my stuff hostage, which I have tried time and time again to get, but he doesn't let me do it, no matter how many times I try, but I haven't involved the cops yet. Today, I called my mom, and she told me that she was in on it and suggested that I aid in protecting my lying evil narcissistic brother too. I am stepping away from going no contact with them both, and I advised Kate to call the domestic violence helpline to help her get the flat where she currently lives, as it is in my brother's name, place a restraining order on my brother, and finally screwing him over from seeing his son, period. I didn't have hopes of saving the family, but I figured it was better than letting my mom be or feel alone, as she is sick too. I hate this family. My opinion. Original poster, your family seems dysfunctional. I can assure you your brother has traces of antisocial personality disorder or psychopathy. Your mom, on the other hand, is a pure enabler for his evil ways, and it is very little you can do about your mother's wickedness. I'd advise you to keeping an eye on Kate's son. He needs you now more than ever. He needs to be protected at all costs because there is a possibility your brother might start molesting him to take his frustration out on him for his mom's sickness. You also have to probably get the police to anonymously look into the case. Maybe when Kate sees someone has done that part for her, she will get the courage to speak her truth. Good luck. The top replies. Do not help abusive POS. Please help this cancer-stricken woman escape your brother. Take your brother to small claims court and file protective, domestic, and stolen property reports, later on your behalf and Kate's $700 car bill. Wouldn't you feel better helping a sick woman than aiding your brother? He's not a victim. He's a perpetrator. The second reply. Go ahead and call the cops. If it's within statute of limitations, then he can be forced to pay for damages. Will also help for when Kate decides to file reports for anything and everything he's done. Messy people get away with messy behavior because others allow it. Stop allowing it, and the pattern breaks. The third story. My abusive ex-fiancé became a better person after we broke up. Content warning for brief mentions of drug use, and emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. Also, this will be a long one and my thoughts are all over the place, so I apologize if it's a difficult read. We met during my freshman year of high school. He was my best friend, the person I could always go to when I was upset. We always had a thing for each other, but we didn't make it official until the end of my junior year of high school. He graduated a year before me. He was always so sweet and caring. He made little drawings on sticky notes and scraps of paper, bought me little gifts, and even made me a chest in his shop class. He knew me better than anyone. The summer between my sophomore and junior year, he became a father. The mother was my childhood friend. It never bothered me, and that entire situation could make its post, so I'll spare you the details, but what you need to know is that they were only together for 3 weeks. The entire time their son has been alive they've strictly co-parented. I supported my two friends the best I could, and tried to stay neutral in any fights they would have. Things changed dramatically when we became a couple. I'll keep the details of our relationship short because there was a lot, but the short version is he cheated on me, convinced himself I cheated while I had COVID, enabled my drug addiction, and hindered my progress when I tried to quit, R-worded me, made me do a majority of childcare for his son when we had him, and got angry when I would ask him to put more effort into basically anything. Again, our relationship could be its own post, but I don't have the energy to get into it on this post. We broke up about 1.5 years ago, and I cut contact completely. Occasionally I hear about him from his son's mother, who moved a few states over. He just comes up sometimes, and I usually forget about things she tells me after the subject changes. Today, she told me about how he stayed at her house for a few days, and how good of a dad he was the entire time, and how he's been paying his child support now. He always found reasons not to when we were together, got himself a good job and has a new girlfriend. On one hand, I'm glad he finally has it together now and is being the man he should have been for his son the entire time, but part of me can't help but feel hurt by it. Why now? Why? After all the times I begged him to put him to bed just once so I could sleep, the times I had to ask him to watch him for a few minutes so I could have a minute to myself, why didn't he want to then? His doing these things now proves he could have the whole time. I've spent the entire past 1.5 years telling myself that the reason he treated me the way he did was that he simply wasn't capable of being better, despite how much he loved me, but knowing he has changed and is doing all the things he never would for me just shows me that I wasn't worth it to him. I can't stop wondering why? Where did we fork up the relationship so bad that breaking up made us better people? The top replies. It sounds like you both had very toxic habits. He was awful and you let the red flags slide while you were abusing drugs. Just a very bad mix. Then add the baby mama drama, it heightens every hostile interaction twice over. Getting out of a toxic relationship, especially if you're seeing a therapist and sure getting with someone who doesn't feed into it, can be a wake-up call. He could have gotten his act together when he was with you, but he didn't. Probably because he couldn't. And that's not necessarily your fault. Timing, maturity, and mental health all factor into it. It just didn't align when you were in the picture. It's normal to mourn what could have been. But you owe it to yourself to move on to bigger and better things. Take this as a sign that if that idiot can put the past behind him, then so can you.